Trigger warning: the following story talks about mental illness and suicide, and the treatments that were supposedly used to deal with them. If you are suffering from mental illness, there is help and hope for you. And remember, your story isn't over, and suicide is not the answer. Hold on, my friends. There is hope. The year is 1946. World War II has just ended, a year of pride. Many are now dealing with PTSD and trying to fit into the new world. The place, West Virginia. You are deemed mentally insane. Back then, anything would warrant you to be considered insane and crazy. Two words I don't like to use to classify people who are actually mentally ill. You are taken to this most ominous looking building. It's stormy, dark, and foreboding. The scariest sight you've ever seen. You are looking at the place known by some as hell on earth. This place was called Western State Hospital, or by its more infamous name, the Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, or the TARA for short. Over the next century, there were many deaths. They were caused by lobotomies, electroshock therapies, and more gruesome and terrible so-called surgeries. Nowadays, people would call it torture, which it was. It mentally incapacitated you to the point where you could not function mentally or sometimes physically. This was where a lot of the stigma arose about mental health and its effects. But there was something that made that stigma worse: the movie Psycho from 1970s. And also people who claim they have mental illness to justify criminal action. I'm not saying people who don't commit crimes because of mental illness have mental illness. Wait, shit, I wrote that wrong. Okay. What I meant to say in that sentence is, I'm not saying that people who have mental illness don't commit crimes because of mental illness. I'm saying some people who do not have mental illness will try to justify their criminal action with mental illness. I need to rewrite that sentence. But anyway, back to the story. Because of the many deaths in this building, it is supposedly haunted. It is haunted by those spirits who are deemed insane because of the surgeries and so-called treatment. That concludes the backstory for this episode. Warning, the names and one of the towns in this story are completely fake. So, let's get into it. The trip. Me, my friend Alex, and Eric were in a junior year of high school. And summer was almost over, and we wanted to do something big and fun before our junior year started. So Eric decided we should go all the way to West Virginia. He wanted to go to this abandoned lunatic asylum. To preface this, I never believed in ghosts, witches, and shit like that. Then again, I have never seen it, therefore I cannot say it doesn't exist, but I can't say it does either. You can probably hear my confusion. But anyway, we went up through Arkansas, Tennessee, and then Kentucky, which led us into West Virginia. We made a few stops along the way to get gas, food, and drinks. You know, the stuff you want but don't necessarily need to survive. That shit. What was weird was we checked the weather and there was nothing coming in, but there was a major storm coming out over the Allegheny Mountains. Alex was talking about anything he could think of. Some of it was some lighthearted stuff, some of it was downright confusing and earth-shattering. But at some point we decided to stay the night in a small town. I don't remember the name, but the hotel we stayed in had a forgettable name too. It was run down and dilapidated on the outside, but it was nice, like a 5-star hotel on the inside. When I woke up, I looked at Alex. He looked like he had seen a ghost. For the first time. He was silent like the day before. He was silent the rest of the way to West Virginia, except when we asked him if he wanted something to drink. It was 8:30 p.m. We had just arrived at the anxiety-inducing outline of the tower. I asked Alex what his dream was about, and what he said made me cringe. Now, for the context, none of us had ever, and what he told us made no sense at all. Because what he told us, he said it was like a premonition. He said it was probably nothing to worry about. This would be the biggest mistake of my life. Well, one of them anyway. We all walked inside and got ready to spend the night. Sun was getting close and we were getting tired, but we stayed up and walked around the tower. And then shit hit the fan for me. I was walking down a long dark hallway for some unknown Hollywood horror movie reason by myself. This long dark hallway was almost dead silent except for my own footsteps. Then I heard a loud scream and an even louder crash. It shook the entire building. Remember this for later. Then, right after that, I could hear and feel footsteps coming toward me. Then, what happened next scars me to this day. I saw Alex running at me with both fear and anger in his face. He charged me, almost hitting me, before I ran, calling out to Eric to come help me get away from him. He was yelling that he was going to hurt. He stopped at the top of the stairs, but I kept running. I found Eric, who was unaware of the issue on the fact that he was sleeping. Now, remember how I told you that it shook the entire building? Well, he didn't recognize this at all. He asked where Alex was, and I told him he was possessed. And I told him everything while we packed everything up. He thought I was joking. He thought he was joking with us. When we got to the top of the stairs where I saw him, I shrieked in horror and sorrow. I saw him laying on the ground with a flash showering like he was trying to shank someone. When we got closer, I saw that he was breathing heavily like he just ran a marathon. So me and Eric grabbed Alex and left the building. We called the owner, told them everything. We took Alex to the nearest hospital. Thankfully, he wasn't terribly injured. We went back to the car, and it was silent the entire 3 days it took to get us home. We promised never to talk about what happened again. We only said we heard trains noises and that's it. The truth comes out. I had almost forgotten about what happened by my senior year. But of course my friend brought it up. I told him what happened and he said jokingly, "Oh well, it could have been worse." My brain stopped working by that point because he just tried to charge and harm both of us. I never told her about that, but anyway. And now he's okay with it? Sometimes Alex makes me wonder if he's okay. But nevertheless, we really never talked about it after that. That was until we found out something terrifying. The owner called us and asked us to see the CCTV footage of Alex's attack. I said yes, and to my chagrin, what I saw, it couldn't have been humanly possible. He was levitating a foot off the ground, back arched, moaning something we could not decipher. I was so scared. Thankfully, I was in the restroom because I nearly shit myself because of the food I ate that made me sick. Huh. Thought the ghost thing made me shit? No, it just made me vomit. But anyway, I showed the video to Alex and he did the same thing. And after that, we never really talked about it again. I've said that so many times, if I had a nickel for it, I'd have a few cents on it. Or so I thought we would never talk about it again. We talked about going legally, exploring abandoned buildings and stuff like that. Most of the locations were on the coast in Central Texas. Once we solved the case of a murder in a small town called Lost. In the 90s, 2 teens went missing and they were never found. We used the SB7 spirit box to talk to them. We asked who hurt them and they said JJ did it. JJ was a very important figure in the town, being that he was the mayor of Lost. He killed them to try to stop a scandal about him. But that made things worse. But that wasn't the end for us. 3 years later. Alex said he wanted to go back. Not surprisingly, Eric denied going with us. I wonder why. I was nervous to go back, but this time we were prepared. I had the PAP kit, aka Paranormal Attack Prevention Kit, aka Holy Water, also the spirit box. And when we got to Weston, it was almost dark out outside. All Alex and I wanted to do was leave, but we already drove up there, so why? I mean, that probably would have been a better idea if we did, but, before we entered, we pulled out the spirit box and asked if we could enter. A loud voice said, if you want. When that happened, we then cautiously entered. This time we did not separate. We sat on the top floor for 5 minutes. We looked at the time and it said 12:34. When we checked it 5 minutes later, it turned out it had been 5 hours later. The time read 5:34 a.m. We had a camera rolling for the entire time, but for 3 hours straight, we were laughing at nothing. And I don't mean laughter like giddy, I mean maniacal laughter. We then noticed something. The camera was revolving around us, made a full revolution in 4 hours. We lost our minds, but thankfully we were unharmed. But we had to stay till 8:30 because the car was outside the gate and we didn't want to go out in the snow because it was too damn cold. So we waited for an hour for the sun to come up. So we decided to explore it together. Why did I say it like that? Because the same thing that happened 3 years earlier started happening again. But we weren't going to stay to see the show. We both looked at each other and bolted to the first floor. We grabbed our holy water and when the ghost caught close, we marinated that sumbitch in holy water. And it just dissolved. I still have nightmares from that day. But I'm way over here in Texas, and it's way over there in West Virginia. And how? We called the owner and asked where the ghost came from, and they told us the year before we came the first time, a man went missing. He went missing in the building, and there was a search for the man, and he was found deceased. He was killed by his so-called best friend. But here's what was next. It still shocks me to this day. He was in a permanent state of angered fury. If I shit you not, a shard of glass in his hand like he was trying to defend himself. Which will explain why Alex looked the way he did. But why did the ghost choose him? Why did it give him the dream a day before we got there? We decided to go back with the owner and show that we were sorry for how he died. At the same time, the room got unnaturally dark and the room felt heavier than I can describe it in words. We were scared and we started praying. We were saying the Lord's Prayer, and then suddenly the room felt lighter and brighter. We felt as though we helped him pass on. To this day, we still do many paranormal investigations. We called our group Gulf Coast Paranormal. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode of Derailed Tales of Tragedy. I really do love writing these stories for you guys because it lets me show you guys what goes on in my head and how my brain works when writing something. Because I usually write them during school because I do my work very quickly, so I have nothing to do. So I just start writing stories. And then once I'm done writing them, I do a rerun over it, make sure everything looks right, which I clearly didn't do very good on this one. But then after that, I do some updates to it, work on it, and then record it. And these take me a few months at a time to write, upload, record, and upload. So I do have a lot of fun recording these, and it's just a lot of fun to make these. I mean, I usually do a lot of my stories based off of my novel Range, which was called KT 617, and New York Central Chesapeake, Ohio, Santa Fe, 5427 was made. So, yeah. But I do have a lot of fun writing my stories for you guys. And it's really, and honestly, it's just a lot of fun. And I do it for you guys because it's fun to do. So, if you want to see more videos like these, please like and subscribe. It's free, and I will see you guys on the next train out. Also, if you can't tell by now, I got my camera fixed. So, the Civic Limited show will be coming back soon. I'll see you guys later. I gotta wait for it to go on.